Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today I want to talk for a bit about the upcoming 2024 Rookie of the Year race, and why I think it could be one of the best ones that we've seen in quite some time. And we've gotten some pretty solid Rookie of the Year races as of late. Now, last year, Paolo Banchero kind of wrapped up the award early on, but Jalen Williams and Walker Kessler both made a case of their own, being two incredible rookies taken outside of that usual top 10 where we typically see Rookie of the Year contenders come from. The year before that, we got a great battle between Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, and Scotty Barnes that really went all the way down to the wire. And the year before that, we got a great battle between Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. We've gotten some really fun Rookie of the Year races, but this one in particular, I think, is going to be special. There are three players at the top of this race that I really think are the main ones competing for the award, but because of a new rule change coming to effect this year, I think it could end up being anybody's game. So let's go ahead and break down why the Rookie of the Year race in 2024 might just be generational. Of course, when we talk about Rookie of the Year, there's no spot we can start other than with Victor Wembanyama. He comes into the season as one of the single most hyped draft prospects of all time. He's being considered by many to be the greatest prospect since LeBron James, and according to Vegas odds, he's very heavily favored to win this award, which I think comes as a surprise to basically nobody. I think Vic is not only from day one going to have great statistical production, but his overall team impact, which can help elevate the Spurs out of the NBA cellar, is going to be very noticeable. The Spurs, of course, were bad last year. I mean, they got the number one overall pick, so that's pretty clear. And like I said, I think Vic's impact, especially defensively, is from the get-go going to really elevate this team. I don't think the Spurs are going to make the playoffs or the play-in or anything, but I do think they're going to be way better than they were this past season, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made a little bit of push for the play-in tournament if Vic really hits his stride from day one. Devin Vassell looks as good as he did last season, maybe plays the full year. After last year got cut short due to injury, Keldon Johnson takes a jump, Trey Jones has a jump too. There's a lot of young players on that roster that could elevate their games further than I think people are realizing, and that could lead to the Spurs shocking a lot of people, and of course, Vic is at the center of that. Like I said, defensively, I think he's going to be an absolute force on that end from day one. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes an all-defensive team in his rookie season and gets immediate depoy buzz from either maybe even this year to the next couple of seasons. I could see him taking an Evan Mobley type progression, where his first season, he's in all-defensive conversations but doesn't quite make it. But by year two, he could very easily be competing to win Defensive Player of the Year. This is also bolstered by playing alongside Jeremy Sohan in that front court, who's also an incredible defender, and that tandem is going to cause havoc for basically anybody who tries to score down low. Not to mention the fact that I expect Vic to be a pretty featured part of the Spurs offense as well. He's such a versatile skill set, whether he's operating on the perimeter, handling the ball, if he's playing off of Trey Jones in pick and pop or pick and roll scenarios. I think having a scorer of Devin Vassell's caliber is also really going to help make that scoring transition for Vic in this upcoming year easier, because the defense is going to be mainly focused on him, leaving Vic to operate a little bit more on his own. Plus, he's got the height to just see over defenses, allowing him to make some really fun passes and play off of guys very well. I think Vic's going to be great on both sides of the ball from day one. I don't know what the efficiency overall is going to look like, because that three-point shot, while it's really fun at times, still has a little bit of ways to go before actually being an efficient shot for Vic. But I do think overall he's going to make some incredible plays, especially defensively. He's going to have some highlight buckets. He's going to dunk on guys, get the most easy looking putbacks that you've ever seen in your entire life, just jumping over guys who are huge, but they're not Victor Wembanyama level tall. Plus, he'll of course have the national media spotlight shining really brightly on him again, being one of the most hyped prospects that we've ever seen. Vic is going to be on every single ESPN post. He's going to be all over NBA Twitter. He's going to be talked about on TV. Regardless of whether it's good or bad, Vic is going to be talked about, and I think it's going to be a lot more good than bad. Vic, I know some people are trying to get on this hate train and say that he's overhyped, that he's actually not that good. They're hoping he's going to be a bust, saying that, oh, his thin frame, this and that. I think that's just absurd. Vic is eventually going to be one of the best players in the league, and he starts on that this upcoming season, where I don't think he's going to be an all-star, but I do think he's going to be incredible. I don't think it should come as a surprise to anybody that Vic is the clear favorite to win the award according to most people, but I also think there are two players that are being slept on a little bit as other contenders who take it home for themselves. The first of which is Chet Holmgren, who's taken second overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder last year, but of course suffered an injury in a crossover Pro-Am game that prevented him from ever stepping on the court last season. But Chet is now going to come into this upcoming year having had a full calendar year to get his body ready, to get adjusted to the NBA game, learn alongside the coaching staff and his teammates, and he comes into a Thunder team that seems poised to take that leap, with him being the perfect plug-and-play piece to help them make that jump. Chet's going to provide pretty much exactly what the Thunder were looking for a majority of last season. OKC really didn't have that true big presence down low. There's like Jalen Williams, but he's like 6'9" and not really a rim protector. Mike Muscala, a floor spacer, but again, not really a rim protector whatsoever. Chet Holmgren is exactly that. He's one of the best rim protecting prospects that we've seen in some time. Projects immediately as an incredible defender. The fact that he and Vic are two rookies coming into the league with this level of defense is absurd. It feels like probably one of those rare times where there are two guys who could maybe make a legit all-defensive case in their rookie seasons. Chet's going to make that type of impact right from the get-go. He's going to average right around 2 blocks if I had to guess, and he also projects as a great floor spacer for Shea, Giddey, the rest of those guys on the team. He can run some pick and pop scenarios. He's of course going to attack the rim, get some putback dunks, probably dunk on some people, probably get dunked on as well as a shot blocker. That's typical, and I do think he'll also have a pretty big spotlight on him because again, the Thunder could potentially be poised for a leap if guys progress, if they go from a play-in team to say a solidified playoff squad, and Chet is a big reason why helping the defense elevate to a new level, which was already pretty solid last year. But between him, Dort, J-Dub, Shea, I think this defense could be one of the better ones in the league. His offensive help is also going to be big with the floor spacing, just having a 7-footer to operate out there as well, grab some offensive boards. I think a lot of the reasons the Thunder could take a jump this year could be attributed to Chet and that impact that he could make, as well as having some solid statistical output, could lead to him being the top runner for Rookie of the Year. Then we of course have Scoot Henderson, who was taken 3rd overall by the Blazers in this past year's draft, which I still think is a ridiculous steal to get a talent of Scoot's caliber at the 3rd overall pick, but Portland lucks out and lands a guy like him, who from day one could make, again, like Chet and Vic, an incredible impact. Now, part of his candidacy is going to depend on when or if a Damian Lillard trade actually does end up happening. If it happens before the season, I think Scoot from the beginning is going to be one of the top contenders. If it takes maybe a couple of weeks or a month or so, that will really hurt Scoot's case. But I'm still believing that a Dame trade will happen by the time the season begins, if not within the first few weeks of it. So I'm going to say that Scoot Henderson is pretty much given the keys to the offense for a majority of this upcoming season for Portland. And I believe that the second you put Scoot in that position, he's going to thrive out there. You talk about an electric athlete who can dunk on you or finish with finesse at the rim and put so much pressure on that painted area. You have to send over 2-3 guys. They all have to rotate over to prevent Scoot from just dunking on somebody when he gets to the basket. And with all that pressure he's going to put on the opposing defense, it's going to allow him to utilize that high-level playmaking that he has to improve everybody around him. I mean, you talk about shooters like Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant out there in the perimeter. They're going to thrive playing alongside Scoot, and his numbers are going to rise a lot because of it. It's going to be a very beneficial relationship for both parties. Scoot also, of course, has the ability to create his own shot at times. The 3-point shot is still pretty rough. It's still coming along, but I believe that eventually Scoot will be a serviceable shooter from out there, and this upcoming season, he's going to be better than people are expecting. I think Scoot is incredible. I've said it multiple times on this channel. I think he also could be a generational prospect like Victor Wembanyama, and eventually he'll be one of the best guards in the league and probably one of the best players in the entire NBA, period. And I think that all begins with a monster rookie season that's coming if Damian Lillard does get dealt. Scoot is going to be amazing. So is Chet. So is Victor Wembanyama. So those 3 guys, in my opinion, are the top contenders for the award. Of course, Vic, like I said, is the favorite because of the impact he's going to make and also probably having a good number of actual counting statistics, which is pretty important for Rookie of the Year in most people's eyes. Chet Holmgren might have the best team out of these 3 squads, and also having that impact too defensively will also have some decent numbers that could lead to him taking the front runner spot. But Scoot Henderson, I think, could have the most numbers because Dame's going to be gone, which just allows him to take free reign of the offense. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. So I could see him, even though the Blazers not being great, having just the best numbers out of anybody, and that leads to him getting a ton of consideration. So I feel pretty comfortable in saying that one of these 3 guys will most likely take home the hardware. But one thing that's making me hesitant to say that I'm certain on that is the new stipulation that you have to play at least 65 games to win an award due to the new CBA coming into effect. Now, 65 games isn't that much for a rookie. Rookies typically play a majority of their first season, especially if they're going to win the Rookie of the Year award. If we take a look back all the way to the year 2000, there have only been 3 players that have won Rookie of the Year and not played at least 65 games. LaMelo Ball, you had Brandon Roy, and you had Kyrie Irving. Those are the only 3 guys that didn't end up meeting that standard. John Morant was kind of close. He only played 67 games, but of course still got over the threshold. So it's probably not something that will come into effect very often in award races, specifically for Rookie of the Year. But I think this season in particular, it really could end up playing a factor in who wins the whole thing. Victor Wembanyama, there's already reports that the Spurs might load manage him a bit throughout his rookie season because he does seem somewhat injury prone. He is a bit thinner and he's still adjusting to the NBA. Why would you risk the health of your generational player in a season where the Spurs probably aren't going to be that good anyways in order to help him win a Rookie of the Year award that ultimately down the line is really not going to mean much as he's trying to become eventually one of the best bigs to ever play the game. So if he's getting load managed a bit and he only plays like say 58, 60 games, Victor Wembanyama, the top contender for the award, could be out of the equation from the beginning. Plus, there is potential for him to get injured, and if he does get hurt, I expect the Spurs to keep him out for as much time as he needs to make sure that he's healthy before bringing him back into action. With Chet Holmgren, he's coming off a year-long injury, so I wouldn't be surprised if OKC also load manages him just a little bit. I don't think he's going to sit a ton, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some back-to-backs where he sits, or if there's like 3 games in 4 days type stretches and Chet sits 1 or 2 of them. I think that's very realistic and makes sense because you don't want to force Chet again back into something way too soon, force all this physical exertion on him when he just missed an entire year rehabbing from injury. So those are the top 2 contenders for the award according to Vegas odds that could both potentially not meet the 65 game Met criteria. I think Scoot probably ends up playing 65 games, although I could see a scenario where he deals with an injury and then say down the stretch run of the season where the Blazers may not be competing for anything if they trade Dame. Maybe they sit Scoot to really secure those lottery odds and just prevent him from getting any injuries that could lead into the offseason or the next year, so he doesn't play like the last 7-8 games of the season, and that ends up resulting in him just barely missing that 65 game threshold. I think that's a possibility. This new stipulation really just makes things a lot more complicated. There have been years in the past where we've gotten winners or top contenders that haven't played nearly close to 65 games. For example, a few years ago, back when Embiid was battling for Rookie of the Year, he played like 30 games or something like that, but he was so good that he was still one of the top contenders. It was the same case for Zion Williamson, who also didn't play a lot of his rookie season. John Morant ends up winning the award, but he was so good in the time that he played that a lot of people are like, should Zion actually just end up winning it, even though he played less than half the year? With the new CBA, stuff like that is no longer a possibility and opens up a lot of avenues to other players trying to compete with the top contenders. So in a typical year, those 3 guys, I think pretty comfortably one of them is going to win, but this season, things are different. And because of that, I want to talk about a few more candidates that I could see potentially trying to take that spot if they end up playing the 65 games and some of those other contenders don't. First, let's talk Brandon Miller. Miller was taken with the number 2 overall pick by Charlotte, sandwiched between Vic and Scoot, and because of this and the fact that most people thought Scoot should have gone number 2 over Miller, leads to Brandon Miller losing a lot of the hype that he had coming into the draft. And I do still think Brandon Miller is going to be really good. I'm not one of the people that's down on him. His summer league wasn't phenomenal, but that Hornets summer league team just wasn't very good, and you should never take that much stock in his summer league, period. I don't care if it's good or bad. Summer league really just doesn't mean too much. And I think Brandon Miller could have a really good year, specifically playing alongside a playmaker like LaMelo Ball, who is perfect for Brandon Miller's game. Right now, I think he needs somebody to set him up a little bit more as he continues to figure out how to create his own shot at the NBA level, and LaMelo Ball is perfect for that. One of the best young playmakers in the entire league, an offensive dynamo that's going to take a lot of pressure off Brandon Miller. I think that could lead to him and Brandon Miller having a phenomenal 2-man game alongside each other. You've also got a big like Mark Williams who can screen for him and get him open at some times. I think Brandon Miller could have a really great debut campaign. One thing that I do think will probably take away from his ability to ever really build steam on that Rookie of the Year case is just the amount of mouths to feed on this Charlotte team. They've got LaMelo Ball, who's going to take a bunch of shots. Same thing with Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges. We'll see what happens with PJ Washington, some other young players that could take jumps. I just think Brandon Miller is going to be too far behind in the pecking order, or even if he's towards the top, there's just not enough shots to go around for him to put up these gaudy numbers that maybe some of those other top contenders for the award probably will, even if a couple of them miss that 65 games played threshold. You've also got Alvin Thompson, who was selected 4th overall to the Houston Rockets, and yesterday I tweeted about this Rookie of the Year race, and there were a number of Rockets fans that were mad when I said it was mainly between Vic, Scoot, and Chet, and didn't really mention Alvin Thompson. In a normal year, if the Rockets didn't make big splashes in free agency, he probably would be one of the top contenders. And I think down the line, Amon will very well be one of the best players in this entire class. But there, again, is just too many mouths to feed over there in Houston, similar to Brandon Miller's situation in Charlotte. They brought in Fred VanVleet, a near all-star level point guard who plays the exact position that Alvin Thompson does, so that's going to take away a lot of his looks playing there. You've also got potential jumps from like Jalen Green, who could average a lot more points than he did the past couple of seasons. Alperen Şengün, who's also going to playmake a bit, taking even more touches away from Alvin Thompson, and playmaking is one of the things that he does best. Jabari Smith could take a jump. Dylan Brooks is going to take some shots. You've got Kevin Porter Jr. coming off off the bench most likely alongside Alvin Thompson, so he's going to take more looks. I think Alvin's going to be really good from day one, and again, eventually will be one of the best players in this class. I just think there's not nearly enough room for him to put up the numbers that he's going to need to win Rookie of the Year. I don't know what his minutes are going to look like either, especially because it seems like the Rockets are trying to angle themselves to compete a bit more this season. I don't think they'll compete that much, but it seems to be their goal, to be really competitive. So I don't know if that means Alvin Thompson getting a ton of minutes. This is similar to the reason why I don't think Cam Whitmore will really get serious consideration for the award. Again, I think he'll be really good, but he's going to be playing behind a bunch of other guys coming off the bench, and I don't know what the minutes are going to look like for a Houston team that has a lot of young players that need some developmental run. Asar Thompson is also interesting in this whole conversation. He's going to be playing alongside a really solid starting lineup of Cade, Ivy, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Jalen Duren. At least that's what I'm assuming the starting five is going to look like. That's how I would do it if I was running the team over there, but we'll see what Monty Williams goes with. Asar Thompson is a great connecting piece for that team. He can finish plays around the rim. He can play make. He can play some really good defense, which is needed over there for the Pistons. The shot is a bit shaky. If it comes along, he's going to be a perfect connector for that team from day one, but we'll have to see how that looks. Ultimately, I just, again, don't think he's going to have the production, but in terms of impact, he could be one of the more impactful rookies from day one, and if the Pistons take a big-time leap, maybe he gets a little bit of buzz. One more rookie I want to talk about from this class is Keyonte George. I've said a lot of times on this channel, I'm super high on his game. I think he could be a contributor from the get-go for the Utah Jazz, who are really looking for their guards of the future. But again, like I keep saying for all these guys, a lot of mouths to feed over there with Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen. We'll see what happens with Bryce Sensabaugh playing over there, Taylor Hendricks, John Collins is now over there, Walker Kessler. There's just so many guys over there on that team, and I think Keyonte George could certainly be one of those players from the beginning. But overall, like I said multiple times with a lot of these other guys, I just don't think the numbers are going to be there. But if some of those top players miss some time, maybe Keyonte sneaks his way into the conversation. I also want to quickly touch on the two big-name EuroLeague guys that are coming over this season to play in the NBA, thereby making them rookies, even though they're like 28, 29 years old. And that's Sasha Vujacic, hopefully I said that correctly, for the Sacramento Kings, and Vasilije Micic for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sasha comes over from the EuroLeague after averaging about 17 points per game and shooting around 40% from deep this past season. He gives the Sacramento Kings just another elite outside threat, which is ridiculous that they have even more of those types of players. And say he comes in, makes a big time impact as the Kings jump in the standings. He's averaging double-digit points. Maybe Sasha gets a bit of Rookie of the Year buzz, or at the very least, makes an all-rookie team. Micic, meanwhile, is also a very high-level shooter, but is also a bit more of a playmaker, and that could work well alongside Shea and Giddey. Gives the Thunder another playmaking guy who can handle the ball, who can also knock down some shots created by those other two ball handlers that we just talked about. He could be really good, and say Chet misses some time, but the Thunder still take a leap, and he's looked at as one of those big-time swing factors. Maybe Micic, similar to Sasha like we were talking about, ends up getting some Rookie of the Year, or at least all-rookie type love. And of course, with it being such a stacked draft class, there are so many other names that I didn't even mention in this video that could be fighting for those all-rookie spots for Rookie of the Year, maybe in a dark horse scenario. I just don't have time to talk about anybody, so if I didn't mention someone specifically in this video, it's probably because I just don't know if they're going to have the statistical output with the role that they're in, or I just don't know how the team is going to look around them to win Rookie of the Year. So it's one of those factors. If you want to know my thoughts on a specific rookie, go ahead and comment them down below, and I can give you some of my takes. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Rookie of the Year race. I'm super excited for this one. Again, just so much talent coming into the league, whether it is guys from this draft, whether it's the guys coming from overseas. It's, Chet Holmgren being a top 3 pick from last year coming into this year's rookie class. It's super exciting. Let me know who you think is going to win Rookie of the Year down below. Some other dark horses that maybe I didn't mention. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Helps the channel out a ton. Also comment down below any other maybe award races you want to see me break down, players, teams, anything in between. Again, just trying to get through the offseason with the content. And yeah, appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.